Hey guys, and welcome to today's first impressions video, the video game series in which we look at a recently released game and I give you my first thoughts and impressions on it. Today we're looking at Roady Life, which is a company simulation game, is the best way I could describe it, where you start a company from scratch and you build, you expand. It's got quite a lot of depth to it, but it needs a lot of work. As always, we'll look through the settings first, then we'll jump into the game and see what it's like. I want to like this game more than I do, but like I say, it needs a lot of work putting into it before it's going to be anywhere near sort of finished. Now, it is worth noting that this is beta version 0.8.1.2, so hopefully there are lots of changes to come. But let's jump into those settings. Alright, settings. Lots to say about this. First of all, they are using sliders for quality, and I don't understand why. I don't like sliders because they're finicky. You can slide too much, you can slide too little. Just give me a drop down bar or even a side scroller, but not sliders. I'm not a huge fan of that. And honestly, with how bad the game looks, like, you're not playing this for how good it looks anyway. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. You're not really going to need too much quality enhancement because there's nothing to enhance. That being said, having the options is always better than not. Hopefully they change the sliders and add a few more settings in as well. Some AA actual options, etc. You do get VSync, and it does start you in borderless full screen by default, which is nice. Your audio. It knocks your music, your engine, user interface, and your ambient sounds down somewhat, and then by default puts your global volume all the way up to max, completely nullifying all of this in the first place. Blew my ears out when I switched this game on. The soundtrack is also kind of weird in that it'll play, but it's not continuous. So it'll play, it'll go quiet, and then a new song will come on a few minutes later, which is really odd. Like, just put it on a continuous playlist. My biggest gripe though is the controls. Now, it does work with a controller, sort of. You can rebind it, but rebinding it, if you want to rebind it for a controller, again, doesn't work properly. Now, this isn't uncommon with these sorts of games, and again, hopefully on full release that will be remedied. The problem I've got at the minute is that if you're using a controller, which you're going to want to do if you're going to be driving around and stuff, because we all know that keyboard driving is horrible, you have to use your left trigger and your left bumper on an Xbox controller. By default, your left trigger is go and your left bumper is stop and reverse. Now, anybody that's played any number of games using a controller before, especially racing games, knows how backwards that is and how really odd, because right trigger by default has always been go and left trigger has always been stop. However, I tried to change it in here, and what would happen is that left trigger would then go to stop as I told it to, as brake, but right trigger didn't do anything. It's almost like the game doesn't want to recognize the right trigger exists, and this is a bit of a problem. Again, we are still in beta. The game fully releases on the 27th, so hopefully on the full release this will have been fixed. And then your game controls. Help panels are useful, but also not, because whenever you walk over them it stops the gameplay completely and comes up with a full screen. Show devices, I don't actually know what that means, unless that means your quest is always on screen, which is fine. You can change your units, you can change your text size, which is actually quite nice, although the text isn't ideal on the map, and I will show you that later as well. And then show player names when you're in multiplayer. Some things that I would like to see added to this, honestly, namely that there should be a minimap. There isn't a minimap in the game. There is one of them weird compasses at the top, which isn't helpful at all. And unfortunately, it's one of these sort of map menus where you go into the map, you go onto a new screen, but your your vehicle still continues to move. And this has got me in some trouble already whilst I've been trying to play. So it's worth bearing that in mind, that maybe a mini-map wouldn't be a bad feature to add. Maybe have it turned on or off in default, or having a quick button in the menu to turn or switch the compass into a mini-map would be really nice. But let's jump into the game, because I do think this game has potential. I just think that if it releases in its current state, it's gonna not be pretty. Let's jump into it. Alright, we're in the game then. So, you've got these little help symbols dotted around the map, which basically tell you what each of these buildings do. Your company desk, which is your company. It's what you're going to be using to sort of delegate workers and stuff as you go through. You've got the bank, which is where you're going to be going fairly regularly, especially with how bad some of the vehicles sort of handled, to get more money so you can do more. And your contracts, which is where you're going to go to get new jobs, depending on what sort of business you are and what you've got going on. Now, a couple of things. One, you can't really run, and the model works really weirdly. He's got such a bum wiggle going on. And if you use a controller, again, normal, standard, you would expect that pressing your left thumbstick in would enable you to run. However, what happens if you press your left thumbstick in is you teleport back to the start. A bit odd. Now you've got industry shops, you've got prop shops, you've got vehicle shops, you've got a number of different things that you can sort of acquire as you go through. They're sort of interesting, but I don't quite understand what happens when you buy them, because I bought a vehicle shop and it just, I didn't make a new one. What I think happened was I just ended up owning this one, which means I think if any cars kind of come in to sort of get repaired, I get money from that, but I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't really explain the purchasing of certain items very well. There is a tutorial, but it's very, very long-winded, very drawn out, and as a result doesn't really engage the player, because it just takes you to each and every help symbol on the map. Now I've got my car. The next thing I want to talk about is the car models themselves. The car models really don't look that great at all. Also, apparently my writing on the car that I put there has disappeared. It's not there anymore. And you've got these missions that you've got to do, these contracts. So I've got to deliver 34 passengers from Town Transport Station, which is right in front of me, all the way to Hillport Station, which is all right until you realise that, one, these cars aren't going to move out my way at all, and two, you can only carry 6 passengers at a time. Now, this doesn't sound too bad in theory, but it's a very long way. And when I say it's a very long way, this is the map. So I'm here, and it wants me to go all the way, all the way to here, right? Now, that doesn't look too bad on the map, but it's a very, very big scale, and my car can only go up to about 66 miles an hour, which isn't bad, but it feels very, very slow. On top of which, you've also got fuel costs. If you damage your car, then you're going to get less money per passenger coming out. And also, trying to find places when you're in a very robust area with the names on is awful, because the text hasn't been placed very well. It's not great on the eyes, and just needs better placement. If they put them underneath, or just in a different font or something, just something to make it a bit easier to see, that would be nice. Now, you can waypoint areas, but you can't waypoint actual buildings. It won't let you, so you have to waypoint just off of. And the problem with this is that, as I say, you've only got this sort of weird compass thing, which doesn't really do a very good job of showing you where it is you actually need to go. Refilling takes a fair while as well, and overall the transport missions they're not that great. Weirdly enough, it also charges you for taking passengers on, which doesn't really make sense because then it basically gives that money back when you deliver the passengers. I don't understand why it costs you to take passengers on. That doesn't make any sense. Now, handling the vehicles, again, this is why you'd probably want a controller over trying to do it with a keyboard and mouse, is actually fairly difficult. You know, this car handles like you would expect a big, chunky 6-seater to handle. It doesn't handle very well. And the roads are very, very, very windy. They're a very windy time. So yeah, it's a bit weird. And again, like, you've got these logging areas and stuff, so you can really get into the production side of things. But honestly, I think it would take that long that you're not gonna want to do it. It's such a grind to get to where you want to be and to do what you want to do, unless you just take loans out every which way, which I don't really advise because the interest on them is obscene. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is a game that I really do want to get into. It's a game that I want to enjoy, but there's too many weird nuances. There's too many weird things going on with it that unless they fix, I'm not going to want to do, right? I'm not going to want to sit and play with a controller that I have to use left trigger for and left bumper for because trying to realign the controller doesn't work. And if I can't run as a human, like when I'm in like human mode, if you like, I just teleport back to the straight, it's going to get really, really annoying. There isn't really any traffic lights or anything either, so traffic is kind of, you know, as the crow flies. What I will say is I'm very impressed with the size of the map. Like, the map itself, the sheer size and volume of it is very, very good. I can't complain at that. And I've got lost again. So I'm here, we're at plateau. I want to keep going down. Right, never mind. And yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe I chose the wrong class to start with. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen passenger transport. But honestly, it's just not that fun to do. And I don't know whether other sort of transportation or other industries would be more fun to play. It feels like a very blank canvas that can have a lot added to it. There is a lot of potential with this game. It's just at the minute, I'm not seeing that potential. But let me know what you think on the comments down below. Let me know if this is a game you're going to be interested in. Let me know if you purchase this after the 27th and you discover this video, whether there have been meaningful changes upon full release. And I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Ciao, ciao.